So you want to know how to use head tracking for free on a webcam you might have lying around? Stay tuned. I'll show you shortly. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. Welcome back if you've already subscribed. So you've clicked on this video because you want to know, how can I take an old webcam and turn it into a head tracking device for free? Well, there's software out there called OpenTrack. I'm going to link it down below. It's on GitHub. And when you get in there, what you want to look at, the latest version, which was November 2023, because we're about to go into 2025 at the time of this recording. But the latest version is OpenTrack 2023 3.0. Now, the one you probably want to open is going to be the OpenTrack 2023 3.0 Win32 setup.exe. This one will run an installer and everything for you. And you'll be able to look back in some of the release information too. If you have any issues, you can go up here to the upper left and see problems people have had. Because I know some webcams have created different issues, so just keep that in mind when installing yours. But that's a place to start. Other than that, feel free to comment and I'll help you. But let's jump into it. So once we install it, here is OpenTrack. You get the octopus right here. That means when you see that like that, they are as square and flat as can be. Now, I have a 27-inch monitor that I'm playing Farm Sim on. And for me, that's what's going to be my settings. So just keep in mind, if you copy and paste the settings you see me use, it might be different for you. Other variables are lighting, type of webcam you're using. So mine is going to be set to 30 FPS because it's a C270 Logitech. And the lighting's not the best in this computer space, so it can be a little touchy and laggy at times. But easy solutions are either a decent webcam or just good lighting to allow it to pick up all the features that it needs to when tracking. But anyway, the input you're going to want to select is Neural Net Tracker. There's a bunch of other options. Another big one that's kind of becoming a little more known, to me at least, is iWare Beam. The one you're going to want, though, you're not going to want Oculus Rift or any of those other VR options. Tobii eye tracker software is in here, but what you want is Neural Net. You can leave the output as free track because that's just how it's going to take the tracking information and apply it. Filter, Acela, never messed with that. I would leave that what it is. Now let's go into the options. So I have some keybind set. Key one you want is the center. So have a macro setup. So I have Control F12, but I have macro keys. So for me, I'm just going to hit the G1 button. And then I have start tracking, stop tracking, and toggle tracking. Essentially, toggle tracking is kind of the quicker format of these two. So start tracking and stop tracking can take a little while to fire up. And then toggle tracking kind of just goes off and on, but leaves it kind of running in the background. So that's just something that's easy. I don't have the restart tracking on because I'm not too worried about it. I always center at startup is what I have selected. I'd recommend the same for you. Something to keep in mind, centering method. I go to point. It might set you to roll compensated, but I don't use roll, so that wasn't working for me. It was actually putting me way outside the tractor. I'm not using wireless VR 360 either, so that's why I've selected point. Now let's go over to output. So I use yaw and pitch as my sources. Yaw is going to be your left to right. Pitch will be your up-down motion. So keep those in mind. Like I said, I turn roll off. I'm not messing with any of the center pose down here. We're good there. Relative translations, I'm not really messing with any of that. That kind of is a disablement. If you yaw too far one way or pitch, or you're using the X, Y, and Z, just keep that in mind. That's something you might be able to fine-tune and control better. We're not messing with that mode, so we're moving on. Game detection, you can put each game in here, even though you can create a individual profile per game, which I'll show you right over here. So like that one default, I just keep mine the same for American Truck Sim and Farm Sim because they're not far off. The tractors are the only fidgety here and there, but Now here's a part that's going to be somewhat key for you. Make sure you have your correct camera selected. Like I said, I have the C270. My field of view, I've just left at 56. You can actually adjust this to get a better pose ratio of how you sit in front of your camera. Me, that's what seemed to be okay for me. That's what I went with. Resolution, you can drop that down. It can create a little bit of lag here or there, but I think there's no reason to overburden your PC setup with trying to pull high resolution on a back program. So just keep that in mind. I have it 30 frames per second. Technically could go up to 60. I left it at 30. It is what it is. Now, when you want to calibrate this, one tracker needs to be running. So you hit start tracking, but just keep in mind this is based off of how you're sitting in relation to the camera's direction. So for me, to balance with what was in FS25 American Truck Sim without putting me outside the cab, it adjusts me to 250 forward, which moved me closer to the steering wheel. Up, which is negative 135, brought me closer to the seat instead of the ceiling or the cab roof. And then right, I was dead center of the camera, so it stayed where it was. Perfect. Filters, nothing there that I've touched or noticed any change. I have played with this a little bit, but did nothing, so I put them back to the default settings. Now, before we go into the game, there's kind of a limitation, right? So it's 180 each way. And these lines will be defaulted linear, kind of like what you say with this mapping chart below. I've put a curve into this mainly for FS25 ATS linear you can get away with, and it's just fine. FS25, the camera angles can be a little jaggy at times, so I have a slight curve. There's no dead zone. Now, if you put a marker down here at 0, 0, that's your dead zone, okay? Up here, we value 15, 105. And now this is your 180 degrees in here. Just note. But in game or outside, your input. So this is 90 degrees of how you look at your monitor, right? So if I wanted to go to 45, I could really tighten down my motion, my observation of the screen. And we'll kind of play with that and show you when we get to the cab. But just keep that in mind. But this is your actual view, and this is kind of that ratio within it. So, like I said, you follow that line across, you create your own curve. I've got this one almost maxed out to the 180. I don't need the 180, so it's not a big deal. Now we go to the pitch, kind of the similar thing. Max input here, you go to 180. I'm going 45, and I probably could go less, but my screen is somewhat wide. Oh, not so much wide, but yeah, I would say width. I mean, it's 27 inches east to west, but north to south, it's pretty bulky there too. So I'm looking up a lot and down, but we'll leave that at 45. Max output 90 or 180. I brought this down to 90 to try to remove some of the jitters I was seeing in Farm Sim 25. Again, this actually works a little bit better on FS20 or American Truck Sim. With American Truck Sim, you have to tell it that you're in VR mode when you initially start up American Truck Sim on Steam. So just keep that in mind. So now that you're signed into your Farming Simulator game, and the only difference I would say with ATS is you have to, if you're on Steam, you should go in through VR mode. And then you can set it back to head tracking once in game, and you'll be all set, or helmet cam, I should say. But we come into options. That first general settings wheel, come down here. Head eye tracking, make sure that is turned on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable it while we're in the truck. So I'll toggle on like so. And there we go. And like I said, you always kind of want to get into the game or a new vehicle. It doesn't hurt to hit that quick toggle and center. So I just centered. Like I said, a little jittery just because I'm right there. I can look up, down, that you kind of saw in the intro behind us. So I'll show you the head tracker right there, right? So you see me on it, looking one way. Now you see how the octopus is pink right there, but when I hit that plateau of when I'm about to break the 180 point, or I should say the 90 point, see how it goes green? That means I am now looking behind myself. And like I said, up, down. It's a little jolty because the lighting's not that bright in here. But you can kind of see that's how that works. Then, like I said, we can pull up the mapping. And that's what we're getting there. See how the red dot slides on the pitch? I look further down. It goes up, kind of hits that point. That's where it jumps out sometimes. Because you're already looking at your max, how far you want to look down. I don't really ever see the need to look further than that. And then, like I said, you can look up. Okay, almost the max there. And now let's look back at our yaw. So like I said, turning left. We just got a collision there. Try to look straight across the center of the screen. See how it's climbing, and then right when I get to where my 180 point is, see how that's where that dot is, sitting at the 177 that I have it set for. Not the full 180, because that's how we want it. So that's how that works. So we're in a new piece of equipment, and just something, like I said, always keep in mind. Kind of reset it. But I'm going to show you, you can also lean forward. Now I'm looking closer at my monitors. I'm backing up. I'm looking up. Same thing, I can lean forward on that. Look at that screen closer. Just some of the options. But something I want you to keep in mind too is you will not get mouse movement in the vehicle with the tracker on. I haven't found a workaround to this like FS25 had, so just keep that in mind. But what you can do, you can get out of the vehicle. See, I can move my mouse to look around now. All that works. Get back in the vehicle. If we switch out of first person, so we get the overview now, I can use my mouse. As soon as I go back in the cab, you will not have your mouse because it is set up to feed off of the IR tracking. That's just the way it is written in the game. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to hit Control F9. We're looking again. So you see how it kind of like slid me back there? So this is just the point where I'm saying, like, initially always start with a fresh center point when you get in a vehicle. Just hit that quick key. And yeah, so now I'm just kind of looking around. Like I said, with my lighting, it can be a little jittery. But on the good lighting side, boom. Now I can look behind me and see where I'm backing into. So I hope this helps for everybody. And yeah. Till next time. Farmer Taz, out.